do we got today? We got ourselves team 2 with Kachukin. Oh my man, look at like the good old Legion cat. I like the thing you did with your hair. It's really hard to tell, but there is something different there. We also got ourselves Omega as a Feral with Archeorc as a Fire Mage with Unstoppable, playing that Elemental with in the bag Pure Haze with them big old daggers from the Night Fate. They look kind of cool as a sub rogue. Versus team 1, we have ourselves Kreiser in here with Obliv chilling on his mount. We got ourselves also Kishamet. We got ourselves in the back a Shadow Priest Kravika with a Hunter Bombaras Adrenai. General Hunters, you don't see a lot of them, but they look kind of cool. Playing what looks like Marksman, going to be Kreiser first up on his Maw mount. I still need to go and get my Maw mount at some point. I think I'm going to do it this week, boys. I think I'm going to do it this week. I've been kind of recording most of my Maw mount stuff run. Is this Phase, by the way? Is this Hazed? Is this Haze? I think this is Haze, the Demon Hunter from before. Kreiser getting locked down by the Rogue. Is going to go for a port. Maybe looking at a gateway as the Rogue got himself cooldowns rolling with Shadowblade Smoke Bomb coming up. Looks like he's not going to catch a re-stealth. I think it's going to be a stun into the smoke. With dots already rolling, Haze is going to have a hard time resetting. Is going to be an advantage for that reset. Dots are ticking down. He does get a shield when he catches stealth. However, I feel like those dots are going to tick down on him for a while. They are going to be ticking and might actually tick through the shield. But maybe Haze has himself a bit of a self-heal, waiting out for the dots. Looks like they do tick him out of stealth before he gets the proper opener. Kreiser getting locked down in the stun. At least lands a corruption or something onto Haze as he decides straight some dots going to be port. As Kreiser does take a bit of damage from pure Haze. Is looking to sneak in some dots here and there. Mortal Coil again thrown out as Haze does go for a blind. Looking like that's going to be a reset for the Rogue either way. Ticking down on them, bleeds quite a bit though, the shield. Holding strong while in stealth, but it is going to poke him out of stealth from time to time. He better catch a couple re-stealths in order to at least accumulate all the dot damage into the shield instead. I feel like catching more re-stealths is going to help him out. Looks like the dots are worn off for the most part. Kreiser picking up the eye, going for a Tiger's Eye here. Trying to see if he can find the Rogue, getting hit with a sap. And Kreiser, I believe, might not have the human racial available here. It's hard to track that one without these bars, but not playing a PvP trinket by any measure. Not even a Relentless is going to get a port as Haze goes in for some big damage in the opener. And Kreiser looking to get some dots and even to drain life off of the Rogue. Going for a little bit of a pokey strat. But Haze so far has had an advantage here, the dominance. Kreiser so far has been able to get a couple dots, but Haze with them resets so far is really clean about it. So he's in a bit of an advantage. Kreiser is good. It hasn't even got to use his cooldowns yet. There is no chicken on the Rogue, so Kreiser needs to get some kind of a Mortal Coil into a Fear Slam onto Haze, and then get him loaded up with dots, get a Cloak of Shadows out of him. Mortal Coil, get it thrown out as a kidney shot comes out, denying the Rogue the 100% crit opener. The Rogue is still going to try to make the damage happen through the kidney shot, going for some big damage with the Shadow Strikes either way. Doesn't need a 100% crit. Looks like he just got a crit on his own baseline. Kreiser is going to go for a gateway. Haze does Cloak of Shadows, and that's his defensive gone. Kreiser might be able to punish him. As long as you can push it onto the Rogue and keep him dotted up, you will be able to punish him. Going for that stun around the corner. Haze does dive into stealth. Looks like he's actually staying in stealth thanks to the shield. The shield is just huge for Rogues right now. Absolutely massive as we're diving into a 3-minute game here. Guys, I haven't been able to punish the Rogue too hard so far. Let me get a sip of water real quick, boys. That's good. Sap at a Kreiser. Haze is waiting out for a little bit. Maybe he's just waiting out for some of the dots. He's waiting for something. Cold blood in hand. Ready to go in your time. Can Kreiser answer this? Does he have a human racial backup? I think by now he should. Get a shot. It's going to be a human racial chicken. Chicken coming out 4 phase right now as well. And Kreiser getting some dots up and running onto Haze. As dots available with the slow. Big damage out of Haze though. Kreiser not looking that good. Going for the big Haze buff after getting the fear. While it's a massive drain. Life to catch up on that health. Doing a bit of damage back to the Rogue too. Does he go for Darkglade? He could actually go for Darkglade. Extend those dots to the Haze. Does land a stun on Haze around the corner. Does he catch the restart? Looks like the Warlock is on top of him. Getting those dots back up and rolling. Haze does go for the big Sippy Cup with the Kyrian. Does he go for the healing over time with the Sippy Cup? Does not look like he does. Maybe he would have to sacrifice way too much aggressive power or offensive power with that. Kidney shot onto Kreiser, trying to make some damage happen. Kreiser taking a bit of a beating. Kidney shot into a cheap shot, kind of low in health. Does go for the Kyrian. Does he go for a Kyrian? No, he does not go for a Kyrian setup. Somebody healed him just now. I'm pretty sure maybe it was a Warlock Hellstone. Soul Rock coming out, trying not to get kicked by Haze. Haze knows not to kick the nature. Get an interrupt, juked on Shadow. And that's going to be Haze, unable to do much here. The dots are rotting him down. The Dark Lair did quite a bit of damage. Goes for a cheap shot onto the Dark Lair. But Chrysler is still alive and kicking. Had to wait out the Rogue. Played the long game, but looks like the Corruption, Agony, as well as Unstable Affliction. I might have not been able to get a proper Unstable Affliction for this duel, though. But a lot of that damage was able to do quite a bit with it. That's going to be Drain Life for Chrysler. Catching up on heals. Unstoppable goes in for a lasso, but that's going to be a lasso break due to range. Thanks to the gateway, Chrysler almost planning that setup. Getting the dots on Unstoppable. That's going to be more kiting out of Warlock. With so much mobility Warlocks have, especially being Night Fae, the port ability with the Soul Shape. You also got the port, the normal lock gateway, but also you got the Warlock portal. That's just so much mobility on top of the permanent, almost permanent corruption, adding a 50-60% slow rather to enemies. This gives the Warlock so much ability, but Unstoppable might just have him here with a lasso, setting up a big old zaps and taking him out. Looks like Chrysler just didn't have a lot of defenses available towards the tail end of that duel, with Kamijit going up next as an arms warrior, trinketing out of that setup for Unstoppable. Goes in for an interrupt on that Hex with a Blaze Storm to follow. Unstoppable just goes in for a bit of a self-heal himself, trying to get those insta-casts rolling onto Kamijit. That's a free Lava Burst. Did not go for Lava Burst instead. Tried to go for a knockback, but didn't really work out against Kaja. Avatar is available. Unstoppable just has to wait until the next lasso is available to peel this warrior off of him. Although the self-heals coming out for Unstoppable are quite huge. Could go for a big meaty Lava Burst setup. Does go for a big Lava Burst into Kaja. Not a lot of health available. Trying to go for every defensive trinket. That's going to be lasso. And even if he doesn't recover health here, he is going to be down to literally 1 health because of Rallying Cry. Once that falls off, it's not going to be good for him. Unstoppable just sees a couple more globals and the instant cast and the massive setup with a Lava Burst was just huge turnaround for the Shaman. Kravika is going to be... Kravika. My bad. It's going to be up next as a Shadow Priest caster versus caster, giving Unstoppable a little bit of an honor duel here, letting him at least recover on health before he dives in on him as a massive big brain Shadow Priest. Most likely play in the Venthyr, right? I'll be surprised if there was a Shadow Priest that wasn't Venthyr. Is going to be able to get the dots Unstoppable in the opener, probably with the TP of that. Unstoppable at least does so with the Moldrax's shield, giving him a little bit of tankiness in the opener. Void Eruption with Mind Games coming out. Kravik can get a hit with Lexip. That's actually not Lexip. What am I talking about? Lasso. Might as well be a ranged Lexip with a bit of damage. Interrupt him on a self-heal. Kravik not a lot really left in terms of defensive. Might have to go for a big self-heal play, trying to still make the Mind Games work. Disperse coming out as it dips super low. Unstoppable going in for a Hex just to get more CC onto the Shadow Priest, denying him any self-heals behind the pillar. If he can catch up to him and keep forcing pressure on the guy, might be in a good spot. Big haste available for Kravika though, although eats a Meteor, and that's going to be Lasso on the other side. Oh, that PI haste doesn't really help you. Big Earthshock to follow, trying to end him with some Frost Shocks. Has to go for a Lava Burst. Kravika's still alive for now though. VT getting set up, but that's going to be a grounding totem, stopping any kind of CC to follow up by the Shadow Priest onto Unstoppable. Taking him out one after another with Bumbara, the marksman hunter Draenei, going to be up next into this duel. As Unstoppable looking unstoppable so far, does deny the aim shot. I don't think he really realized that he was getting aim shotted on him. It looks like the aim shot does connect. Bumbara didn't have any kind of double tap, any kind of wombo combo damage in it either. Drink coming out of the lassos. Bumbara backpedaling a little bit, knocking back Unstoppable for a second. I think he knocked him into an explosive trap that's supposed to knock him off. Looks like maybe overlap the knocks a little. Big Stormkeeper coming out. Needs just one more blast of the lightning bolt. Bumbara not in a good spot. Just Frost Shocks is all Unstoppable does land himself acceleration, but Bumbara is out of defensive zone with a couple Lava Bursts. Unstoppable just dominating the show here as an Elemental Shaman with a Doomhammer at his side. How Elemental Shaman should have been from the beginning, in my opinion. Obliv is the last one left on Team 1. Fire Mage with the Absorb Lego versus Unstoppable. Actually, that's another good question. Speaking about legendaries, what legendary does Unstoppable run as Elemental Shaman for PvP? Which legendaries do Shamies run? Do they do the same thing that Chicago does with the Earthshell Lego, so you get a lot of self-heals? Interesting. I do wonder, boys, what do you run after this duel? Let me guys know. If Shaman can let me know, that'd be great. I have a couple of you guys out in reality. Gonna be a G-Pie into Unstoppable's face. Trinkets into an interrupt. Obliv actually tried to go for a Kyrian setup. Looks like not gonna be able to do so. Trying to land a Ring of Frost. Does get it. There's gonna be DR though. Unstoppable might be able to get a... I was gonna say maybe a grounding in there, but looks like not happening. Images available for Obliv. Unstoppable going in for a setup. Radiant Spark coming out for Obliv. Trying to go for a big combustion setup. Does the Meteor connect? The Meteor was not the fourth spell in that rotation for the Kyrian. Didn't do the most amount of damage there. And Unstoppable under quite a lot of pressure. Images on one side slowing him down. Mage with plenty of damage on the other. Does get himself a massive heal into a Hex onto Obliv. Does play Relentless, so he's not going to be able to get out of this Hex quite easily. I don't know if he has a human racial yet or not. Might have already trinketed. It's so hard to tell with this UI. Hopefully Blizzard maybe adds the human racial aspect to it. Or side racials like undead and such. I'd love to see that kind of thing. Gonna be Unstoppable, just get himself quite a few damage into an interrupted Obliv on Frost. Obliv sitting behind the pillar, no worth. Just sitting in front of Unstoppable, just getting tagged. And Unstoppable needs to get his pet to attack Obliv. There's going to be a free zone to Unstoppable, as well as the pet with a freebie G-Pie for Obliv. Does he have the G-Pie to follow? Radiant Spark is coming out. Does he line up the proper Radiant Spark? Probably Meteor trying to be the fourth spell of Radiant. If you get the fourth spell of a Radiant Spark after using it, does 40% more damage. So first spell 10%, second 20, so on. Fourth spell does 40% more, and if it's the Meteor, that's what the Fire Mages really want. Big Lava Burst coming out is looking like Unstoppable does also play with the Fire Affinity just like Obliv does. It's going to be interrupt on Unstoppable on Nature. Continue to dish out the Lava Burst back to Obliv though while he doesn't have any of those shields. It's going to swap out the Earth Elemental. Trying to land a Hex on Obliv. Does land the Hex. And Unstoppable does pull out the big guns, the big defense of the Earth Elemental into a Spirit Walker's Grace so you can run while casting, trying to get big zaps on Obliv, and needs to go dispelling all those shields ASAP from Obliv as fast as possible. Those shields are going to be huge for him. 11 minutes into his duel, 39% dampener into a poly onto Unstoppable. Does he have another stun by the Earth Elemental? Trinkets into an interrupt. Gonna be a polymorph by Obliv. Doesn't quite land it. Unstoppable needs himself big Lava Burst setup. Has massive setup of Lava Burst available into lasso to Obliv. Does go for an Ice Block. Interrupting Unstoppable on that cast. Trying to land a Radiant Spark. Combustion available back up. Does he land the Meteor? Meteor does not connect, but still quite a lot of damage. So Unstoppable is under a lot of pressure right now. Wall available back up if he needs it to. That's going to be a short stun onto Obliv from the Earth Elemental. Looks like the Earth Elemental should be fading away very, very soon. And Unstoppable does not have the Earth Elemental wall anymore. At least got to use it while he had it. Breath Unstoppable, try to get the Lava Burst to melt the Ring of Frost. Does not get it. Obliv does get himself shield right as the Lava Burst is about to connect. G-Pie coming out. Big damage onto Unstoppable. Does Obliv have enough to finish him here? Unstoppable does have a wall. Try to get himself a heal. Lightning Lasso onto Obliv instead. Blinks out of it. Does he have an interrupt? He does not have an interrupt. Unstoppable actually is free to cast in his face. Breath and a Radiant Spark still trying to pressure with damage alone as the healing surges are flying for Unstoppable. Looks like he's going to be pretty healthy. Eats a Meteor. His health doesn't even budge one bit. So far, this man is just the tankiest guy I've ever seen. Although Obliv continuing the pressure, continuing the fireballs. Big Meteor back to Obliv. Unstoppable looked at the Meteor and was like, you know what, I got one better. Summoning the Fire Elemental, element literally made of fire. Like the lasso, denying the breath. Obliv is super low. Actually might be in trouble here. Maybe Unstoppable turning around. Cauterize coming out for Obliv is actually under a lot of pressure. Does himself a little bit of health. The shields are melted through the Cauterize, as he just doesn't really have a lot defensively here. Root onto Unstoppable. Can Obliv somehow turn around? Needs to go for first aid or anything. Maybe even food. 50% dampener. A lot of the healing you get is not going to be all that strong right now, even the food. And that's going to be Fire Elemental burning through those shields very, very easily. And Obliv tried to play a ring around, the posy around with Unstoppable. Does get out. I think it might have been a human racial out of that lasso. Intro poly. Trying to repoly him in case Unstoppable does go for a trick. And Obliv needs to run right now. Needs to run and get himself a little bit of food, because he's in a really dire situation. Unstoppable making sure he's walking in there with the Earth Shield and everything. Now it's his time to pressure Obliv. Obliv still has damage available though. He might be able to maybe have an all-in with Unstoppable. No chicken available for Unstoppable. As long as Obliv doesn't get caught with a lasso and the big zaps and maybe a Lava Burst setup, he'll be in a good spot. Does have images to give himself a bit of defensive. Ring of Frost coming out. Does he have the G-Pie to follow? He might actually be able to do it here. If he pulls off this G-Pie with a big combustion, he might just have it. Unstoppable is going to get smacked for a ton of damage right now. Does he have grounding? He does have grounding. That's going to be a big Oh, there's just so much damage going on. My mind is just racing. I literally can't commentate this, but Obliv does land the Pyro Blast in there either way, with Arior coming out with a combustion. Just blasted out combustion onto Obliv. Obliv stealing his combustion back. And that's going to be Arhi still putting pressure onto Obliv. I literally got tongue-tied at the end there. That was just so much stuff going on at the same time. My mind was racing. But I guess that's what is going to happen. The first duel of the day, dude. I got to get back into it. You know what I mean? I got to get back into swing of things. You know what I mean? Obliv does get himself an invis. Going for a little bit of food. Does he go for another kill? Maybe if he says up for a little bit of burst with Arhi, or he might be able to Kyrian swap burst down Arhi. But Arhi is on his tail out of the invis into a breath. Obliv goes for a setup with the poly. Arhi could have actually interrupted that. But I guess he didn't expect for the breath to break as early as it did. G-Pi coming out for Obliv into a Fire Blast with Arhi. It looks like it's meeting him with a Meteor, but they're just going to leave him with a Meteor. Continuing to run, continuing to go for a reset. Arhi is getting his shields back up. CDR is coming back in. Alter time coming out for Obliv. Does Arhi steal the alter time? I don't think he was able to. I think Obliv still gets alter time. He does. That's going to be a lot of health coming back. Arhi and Obliv's health are actually very similar to one another. Does go for a breath from the Ring of Frost. Looks like he denies the other guy the Ring of Frost. Checks a Fire Blast while Arhi does not have a shield. And both of the mages are under a ton of stress. Obliv does at least have some heals. Going for first aids while possible. Arhi making sure to punish him with some Pyro Blast. Breath onto Arhi does almost get the Kyrian set up. And needs himself shields immediately. Does get the shields. Arhi looking for that mobility as the soul shape. Doesn't have a shield right now. Meteor crashing him on the side. Arhi actually might be in a bad spot. That's going to be cauterized with an ice block coming out. Does gain healing from the ice block. And Obliv is yet to use his ice block. Arhi blinking towards Obliv. Gets hit with a breath instead though. And that's his shield burned through pretty quickly. Obliv still holding onto an ice block if needed. Breath onto Obliv does go for an ice block. Arhi, does he melt to the mastery? He does melt to the mastery, and that's going to be the pod where Obliv goes in for a massive combustion. I think he honestly might need combustion just to kill the pod. He's actually struggling to kill the pod. Arhi almost escapes out of there. Obliv does end up taking Arhi instead out. With Kachikan standing next to Obliv. Gonna go for that honorable duel. As we're at that 16-minute duel. 70. What? Never mind. Kachikan just going for that execute instead. I thought he was gonna give him an honor duel. It is a mage. He would actually been able to recover quite a bit. But Kreiser. But God, I'm so bad with names, dude. Kachikan goes in for the massive execute as the event through. I do like that. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Knock out a few of them. I think Obliv did really good. I mean, he had to go from a Shaman, which was just blasting through the enemy team quite heavily.